Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. There we are, facing the move d4. I'm going to play c5, this old Benoni. We're facing a 23-10. And I'm of the firm belief that I am absolutely deserved to be tangoing with the big boys. These 2300s, I was nearly there. I had a bit of an elo collapse tilting a few days. I made a couple mistakes that, having a bit of a break from consistent YouTube uploading, I'd sort of forgotten. The main mistake I'm referring to is if you've lost 10 games in a row trying to record a YouTube video, don't go for the 11th. But my opponent takes on c5. What the hell? Basically, I just think this should be a nice opportunity to gain back a fat bit of elo. So, I'm going to play e6 here. This is not generally recommended. You cannot hold on to this pawn. b4 is, I believe, a blunder. It might just be a mistake for various reasons. a5, if c3, there's a very cool line. Takes, queen f6, which you guys can check out if you'd like. But here, you just let me recapture, and we've kind of neutralized the whole, d4 shenanigans. Probably you just develop, I don't know, knight f6, and then... In fact, there's a really interesting dichotomy in that position after knight f3, knight f6, where effectively white can do one of a couple things. Bishop g5 we can put to the side for now, but there's an interesting idea where if knight f3, knight f6, they're kind of faced with the choice, do I play e4, trying to claim the center, maybe stop you playing a smooth d5, etc., or do I play maybe a more reserved e3 and kill this bishop, then letting you play d5? The only problem is, after knight f3, knight f6, e4, there's knight to g4, and we're not, crazy winning, but interesting. We do have some advantage. Now, I should probably be aware of this move because the idea is clear. You're going to threaten this bishop, and if I step back here, knight d6 is going to look wildly problematic. Now, I know this to be a good position for me. Actually, do I? I don't know if I know about the move order. Maybe knight c3 first entails this nasty little trap idea. I can, of course, just go back. If you go check, I could just take, queen e7, get you out of there. It just feels like a major simplification. I'd rather keep my bishop on the board, but then I can't give you a knight outposted on d6. That's just not something which I can possibly allow. So I don't know, like a queen b6 maybe, but you just take. Damn it, I mean, I really should know the move here. If bishop b4, there's just going to be c3. If bishop d2, we could take and play d5. That'd be pretty sick, but I think after c3, I don't know, that probably just sucks for me. So what do I play here? I mean, okay, this analysis is going to be useful because I will actually learn what the hell I'm supposed to do. I think, unfortunately, bishop e7 with the intent to... I mean, they have to go for this, otherwise this whole thing made no sense, because I just play d5. With the intent to just take and then go for maybe a queen e7 and say, look, get out of there, please. I'm not letting you occupy this. Maybe I am letting you occupy this. But I'm just feeling like a knight f6 and a knight e4 is on the cards. Maybe a sort of takes and an eventual knight e8, for instance. We're going to get you out of there, I believe. f3 to prevent knight e4, god damn. I can go for this. You go back with the bishop, presumably. I don't mind if you take and then I take with the king, then we're going to be chilling. I've made a problem for myself, and I really don't know. Like, no one's asked this question of me before. If I go here, you can't just go back. So, what, bishop here to maintain? But then we go f6. Okay, I think I'm just going to go knight h5. We're going to ask the question of this bishop, what on earth are you doing? You could take and then move the bishop somewhere, fine. If you go back here, I can simply snap it off, and then you're not going to have that claim to d6, which they recognize, so they trade this. I don't feel like giving this check does anything particularly productive for you. So, I don't know, maybe a bishop d2, maybe... I seem to be fine here. I seem to be absolutely fine. They have snuck themselves a bishop pair, which is a little frustrating, I'll admit. I definitely need to know, like, what is the move in this precise position. Because you'd imagine... I don't know. Yeah, you'd imagine there just has to be one. Maybe I've sort of found my way through it and that actually this is kind of forced, in which case I need to then ask a serious question of the move order that I'm playing in this opening because I do not like this position. Doing a lot of asking questions today. Maybe instead of taking immediately, like you play knight f6 or something to not allow this, and then a knight f3 and then you take. That would make a lot of sense actually. Maybe there's a little move order thing that I've learned. I can play d5 now. We're not going to have any reservations about making some central claim at least. My knight is clearly a little sidelined and not fantastic, but I don't know, we have an open c-file. Can't say I hate the look of that. Let's just develop. No need to spend hours on, exactly the meticulous way in which we're going to develop. I'm just knight c6 has to improve my position. Maybe knight f6 is marginally better, whatever. There's nothing wildly confrontational going on here. They played f3 to prevent knight e4, which is kind of stunting the development of the knight. Also, I don't love the idea of bishop b4 immediately. Did they have that actually? Okay, probably shouldn't have allowed that. They might have had bishop b4 check, which would have put me in a nasty position, honestly. What I should probably be doing is bringing my rook out and then sneaking back this way, sort of manually castling. But I'm thinking maybe even a5, knight b4. I'd quite like to be able to play e5 and bishop e6 and just have a real nice center, maybe bring the knight back to f6. That seems pretty nice. What the hell? Okay, we'll just go here. No need to hesitate. They go, yeah, sure. I mean, I can just sort of pivot back. I could also go here and get into d6. Which honestly I really don't hate. It looks a little slow or a little sort of, I don't know, tortuous of a route to take here. But do I want to block in my bishop? Not necessarily. Yeah, I could have pivoted out this way, but I do actually really like knight d6. I'd imagine you should push this pawn now so as not to give me an unrivaled knight c4. Whoa. Why on earth would you do that? I guess just bishop c3, right? Do I have precisely nothing there? Maybe. What if we start with this? You know what? I like this. We're going to play e5. We're going to claim the full center. We got the ponies. If you want to take this bishop, I will take with the rook, getting my rook onto a nice open file. You will also rid yourself of your bishop pair. You'll still have that dark square bishop, but, you know, not the pair, not the duo of pieces that is oh so scary when put together. Silly. What is that? I mean, I'm just going to go... okay, you want to be able to go bishop here without this, but can I not just, if bishop here, go like this? And then e5? I'm starting with knight c4. I mean, I could have taken this, but I'm kind of just helping you develop your knight. Maybe reroute it somewhere this way. Maybe not. Maybe you're getting a rook lift out of it. I just feel like I shouldn't take on my terms. If you want to take this, be my guest. You're bringing my rook to the c file. And if you don't, then it's just this tension that you kind of constantly have to be worried about. So... what? I can just get rid of this and get rid of this and be in probably an equal endgame, if not slightly better. Question is, do I actually want to do that? I don't know. Do you know what? How about that? How about a5? How about when in doubt, play a5? You know, we fling that flank pawn directly towards this king. I might be trying to play knight b4 here. You start pushing pawns and maybe things start looking slightly more exploitable. I mean, again, I could have just swapped off the bishops and had a precisely equal position, materially speaking. Maybe even, you know, we play a king e6 and we play with a sort of aggressive king, or just bring the rook to d8 or whatever. But a4? Now if I play this, I mean, you could take, of course, but then we get the open a file and some interesting stuff here. I'm playing this. You don't want to kick this. I don't think, at least. Because then we go check, you move the king, and we go in for a fork here. So you can't kick this knight immediately. I don't think you can take it, because after takes, you can play b3 to hold a4, but you're just going to provoke me to take this, which is precisely what I wanted to do. Hold on. You can't just play b3 to start with, though. Okay. I don't know. We've teased apart some pawns here. Doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world. Maybe knight a3? How stupid's that? You can just take here, and then after pawn takes... I don't know, I'm probably just getting that knight very, very trapped. Also, I'm losing the... yeah, that would suck. Okay. I mean, I don't really want to get rid of this. I love my ponies here, but I might have to face the harsh truth that I need to, because clearly we're not doing this. Clearly we're not, you know, taking this pawn. This is terrible. I don't like knight b6. I don't think we have many prospects from there. Knight d6. Again, the prospects are just kind of limited. Or maybe they'll break with old b5. Knight here. But then again, you just take and pick this up. So, okay, I'm going to start with grabbing this bishop. This is held. Really would rather not lose this central pawn. And now, honestly, I'm just going to grab this, bring the rook to the d file, bring the rook to the c file. I think my position's a little bit better. I don't know. This is the real test of whether I'm actually any good at chess, because, you know, we don't have any clear advantage, not material. There's no tactic inbound, clearly. I don't want to allow this check, so honestly, let's just play g6. A nice, simple solution to a relatively simple problem. We have... yeah, there's now a hook. You can start teasing apart stuff here, but I don't know. I feel like I should be slightly better. Now I need to prove why. It just feels like these are a bit offside. Can I play d4? We're threatening to take here, so, I mean, you've got to answer that question. You don't want to just push past and give me this, because then I go here, and yeah, that sucks. So here, you probably have to take, to which I can just take, and then... I don't know. Let's start with rook c8. Rook c8 has to be an improvement of this rook. I don't know. You can take here. I can recapture with this pawn. We're not going to hang anything. Also, I push this and I do give that knight the e4 square, so I want to be, you know, slightly reluctant. I can default to a move like rook c8 because it's flexible. It doesn't make any real committal decision. That is interesting here. And I do the... oh, hold on. I'm starting to really like this. I'm starting to really like this quite a lot. I don't know if this actually achieves anything. It just looks kind of fancy and I want to do it. So let's play it. Fantastic. Maybe I can sort of pivot here and get into here. My knight's dancing. My knight is dancing in a way that you'd imagine has to be productive. Your knight is kind of curtailed here. You could take. Oh, hold on. I don't know. Like, let's say king here. At some point, you're trying to just take and go check. Yeah, maybe. King here, what am I actually playing? Be nice if I had a fork, but the rook holds, obviously. Okay, very equal time. I go check in here. I'm just going to end up trapping my knight. There's no way that's a good idea. So I think I just pivot back. Do I? I mean, yeah, I need to move the knight, right? Okay, we can come back in here. This is held. I'm not worried about f6. I'm a little worried about just you collapsing all of this and then infiltrating with this rook here. That is, I'm definitely a little worried about that. Hold on, but I feel like that closes stuff, right? If I go here, I mean, it feels like I'm walking into a mating net, but also it feels like my king's getting improved in the endgame. It feels like you don't have a check with this knight. It's going to take at least a couple moves to get there, although actually... that's a very easy couple moves to play. Oh dear. But maybe I'm coming in here. I just need to make sure I'm not walking into a mating net, which I easily could be. Knight f3's on the cards though, for sure. And then also a rook c3 and a stacking here. The king holds this. Not for very long, of course, if this happens, but... god damn it, okay. Wait, hold on. If I go here, you have this check. I can go here. You don't have another check with the knight because these two are held. Because right now the rook is trapped, right? But if here and check and then king here, you can't take here. Gotta move the rook. Right, I'm starting with this. My knight has to be pretty fantastic here. I think f6. I don't know, I feel like they should have torn everything open and then infiltrated. But who am I but a lowly 2170 to question the will of this 2310 right now? But you know, the rook is trapped. So you've got to give the check and then try and bring the rook out this way somehow. And it feels like maybe we're breaking through with a d4 or some kind of rook c3 stack here. I just feel like positionally I have to be much better. There is this. Hold on, I didn't even think about that. God damn it. Right, okay. And I can't allow this, so we now have to take... okay, fine. I don't love this, but I can't say I hate it. King here. You just go rook g5 maybe? Then I maybe take. Bring the king to here. King here, we're going to take this. You kind of have to... Okay, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say your rook right now has very, very few moves. I mean, you can go back here. I have the more active king. I have the space advantage. I think on every... that's a problem. On every metric, I should be better. Is this a move? Because if here and you go here, I just don't have any further way forward. But then I can infiltrate like this, maybe. Some kind of rook here. I'm taking like this. If you go behind here, you're being defensive. I feel like you need to aim for activity in this endgame. So if you do this, I feel like that's an achievement in and of itself to compel them to do that. Sick. Okay. Now do I try and defend this and start stacking? Because this is multifaceted. We're also threatening to go rook c8, but I'm also threatening to go rook h8 now that this is defended. We over-defend the pawn such that both rooks are flexible. So maybe a rook c8 trying to take here. Or rook h8 now. I mean, this should be my game to blunder, and I'm about to. Look at rook d2. Goddamn. Okay. Rook d2, rook f2, excuse me. Stay up with the pawn. You'd imagine, right? Eventually this might be a move. You don't have any checks. And I have this h5. And I'm also holding d5. I think I need to start also vaguely thinking about the clock here as something which could very much be my friend. Rook h5 and maybe we come back or something. Hold on. Let's go here. Because you can't bring the king up here. You lose this. Maybe you just go king d2. That seems... Whoa! That's an error. There we go. Should have gone king d2. I mean, you put enough pressure on. You squeeze them enough. They're going to make a mistake. And now we just start eating stuff, right? Oh, hello. I wish I was better at this game. We can go check, though. And then I believe just take and... unless you... Well, no, you can't go this because then I just win the rook. So you have to go here. Then I can take... You can take this, but now I can take this. Everything falls apart. One misstep. I mean, we put them under so much pressure there. So much pressure that they're just dead lost now. You've got no check. My king's completely safe. I expect resignation in... a few minutes. I say minutes, I meant seconds, but fair enough. What if I just take this? Are you coming in here? Do I care? I feel like I shouldn't care. Honestly, I'm going to go rook here. I'm just going to leave my king chilling here. Because then I can take this with the rook and the f-pawn's held. And if you go over and win this, nah, no one cares. But I can go here, win this. I mean, I'm 3 pawns up. I seem to be 2 pawns up, but maybe I should have kept you in there. I can go here and then try and do this, maybe. I could also just take here. Yeah, and if you take this, let's just eat pawns. Let's just absolutely munch pawns. And fine, I've got 2 connected passes here. I got another pass pawn here. You can come and attack this, sure. But I'm going to be able to go here, maybe? Let's just go for like a mate. I'm seeing a scenario where the king ends up here and I go here and you don't have... Hold on, check. This looks like you're walking into something vaguely problematic. But now I can go here and threaten mate. And we just improve the king and bring it right up there and you can't come across. So you've got to go like here or... Yeah, okay, cool. But I feel as though now, surely I just like push. You still can't come across here. There's so many ways to win here. Here, push. Why would I even bother? Let's just go here. I'm chilling. You don't have a check. Let's just keep the pawns. I'm not remotely worried here. The rook is keeping this king pinned back to that back rank, of course. And, I mean, you're not exactly going to surprise me with a very quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not going to come out of nowhere. Push, takes, push, under, check and promote. That looks pretty good to me. That looks pretty damn good to me, I think. We're just going to run that past pawn. You don't have any checks still. And if here... I can just push. We're throwing into just check and promote. We can also go king to e3. You go check. I go king to e3. You go back here. And, I mean, presumably I'm very winning. Okay, well, that's just going to be a discovered check. And let's give them a little more time just so we can get the mate off, of course. They might resign here, though. Maybe they should resign because I have mate in 1, I think, whatever they play. Unless rook here. Is there no mate in 1? It feels like there should be a mate in 1. But okay, we'll just take here and we'll go checkmate on h1 with that queen. GG. Ah, my opponent just lost 28 elo. This might not be a very well-established 2300, although they joined 5 years ago. They might just not have played in a while. Okay, I just checked. They have 2250 blitz rating, and that is over like 12,000 games. They haven't played loads of rapid, so, you know, this might not have been a seasoned 2300 Leech rapid player, but let's have an analyze of that game nevertheless. Okay, so here we are in the analysis. I apparently played 92% accurately. Okay, don't mind that. Although in a winning endgame, you kind of inflate the accuracy metric by just making, you know, best moves for free, because clearly promoting a pawn is going to be the best move. One blunder, 4 inaccuracies, no mistakes. Now that I'm very happy with. The one blunder definitely needs addressing. The inaccuracies may or may not need addressing. The most losing I ever was 1.3 worth of an advantage to white, which is, you know, relatively trivial. I did have, after f4, again, only minus 1.3. Once I got like a serious kind of -2 advantage, I seemed to roughly hold on to it and convert. So pretty happy with that game. Let's go through it. So d4 will open the masters database here. And yeah, you'll see that very quickly after c5, d takes c5 is played 4% of the time here. It's the one just peeking over my face cam. And after that, e6, knight c3, like, okay, there's like 100 odd games. Although, hold on, I do need to remember actually, what is my idea here? The masters do take this. And then after knight here, knight f6? What? Oh, because you get queen c5 after. Okay. That's pretty interesting. I don't know if I want to give up that bishop, but what we can do is kind of, they go 1, 2, 3, and then we just sort of recapture and maybe have just a slightly better position in terms of, well, not slightly better position, but we have compensation for the fact we've given up the bishop. You know, they used a few tempi there. They used 3 tempi to just, you know, trade that. And in the time, you know, we've pushed, we've got the knight developed, we can castle, we can go d5. I feel like this could be what I go for in the future. Apparently knight c6 as well is a decent idea. And after this, we just go queen a5. What is not really a decent idea, although it's playable, is bishop to here, because then we just take, queen e7. I mean, it's kind of my fault that that game ended up being a little more boring. Although when I say boring, it was actually very, I don't know, very satisfying to try and get like a space advantage, you know, get greater activity, try and apply a bit of a positional squeeze in a rapid game where you've actually got some sort of time to really think about things. So I don't know. This game, I feel, on my journey to actually improving at chess and trying to get some kind of decent rating, might have been pretty productive. Knight f6 here. This was all fine. Knight here, takes. Again, it's fine. They go back. I play d5. Although bishop b4 would have been kind of uncomfortable. King e8, and then we kind of just disconnect the rook from being able to access the files like the d file, the e file, etc. Not the end of the world, and I probably would have been able to, after you castle, play like knight c6, attack this. You maybe stay in here. I could go king d7, get out of there, bring the rook. Then I don't know. It wouldn't have been terrible, but maybe a bit of an oversight to not even think about it. Then knight c6. Then I'm going with knight f6, and at this point, after they push, I should have gone back to h5, what the hell? Although, okay, it says inaccurate, this is like 0.6 to 0.5, no one cares. Knight d6, a pretty interesting rerouting. Coming out to c4, we created some pretty interesting ideas there, I believe. e5, pretty good. And then here, I should have gone for takes, and h6, what the hell? I guess I get some activity there. If takes, and this, then what do I do here? But then you take this. Here, that looks uncomfortable. I'm actually just glad I didn't go for that. It looks uncomfortable as hell. Maybe it was the best move. Literally no one cares. Knight here is pretty reasonable. And then we go for a5. Not bad. This is kind of just, we're massaging this position, seeing what we can draw from it. They go for their b3. Again, it's liking h6. That is liking this. It's not like I've missed any tactical strike, really. This is all fluctuating within, you know, a very reasonable interval on that evaluation bar. It's barely straying 0.5 away from the zeros. But okay, they played b3. I took, and vaguely guessed that after this I'd be slightly better. The engine disagrees, I guess, but I don't know, there's just not much. I don't think I'm good enough at chess yet to really pick apart the difference in terms of like a 0.4 and a 0.6 or a 0.7 position. I think creating practical chances, like here for instance, yes, okay, d4 was a move there. I wasn't 100% sure about it, and oh look, another move that was also very good was rook ac8, so, you know, it's better to not go for the committal move that I might regret and, you know, play the rook ac8. It wasn't like d4 was tactical. And then here, damn it, I should have gone for d4. So this was my blunder. Now, I'll be honest, d4 did briefly cross my mind, but then I saw this idea and saw knight d3 and thought, okay, this is sweet. d4 here, if you take, then I take. If you take, then I take here and recapture like this, obviously, okay. So then what if you take here? I take with my rook, this is hanging. If you go here, then I can just take and pick this up, okay. So yeah, I mean, the pressure I had on c2, I should have been trying to open this up, trade off the rook and take on c2. That does make some sense. ed4 takes, and yeah, you know, you go here, I can just go bang, and recapture this, and then probably mop this up, hopefully. But okay, I probably should have seen that, actually, and been more sort of ambitious with my pressure on c2. Instead, I really liked giving this check. It was a reasonable idea. It wasn't losing or anything. Went back to e5, and then, okay, correctly I identify that f6 is not scary at all. In fact, f6 was a blunder. You know, if you take here, sorry, excuse me, if you take here, I take, you take, you come in with check, I go up here, maybe you can take this. I don't know, I get some play maybe, but the infiltration looks pretty convincing. Otherwise, once you close this off, these pieces just seem kind of offside. King e6, I'm just improving my king while you're not, and I think from this point, yeah, at this point I maintained a at least reasonably winning advantage. I should have gone for king f5 earlier, because if rook here, then I could have taken, but if king f5 and you take, I can recapture, then rook here, then we go for this, then check, then here. What the hell, then here? I think we transposed into that exact position, I'm not quite sure, but knight f3 was definitely reasonable. Here, we went for takes. They should have taken with the pawn, maybe that's the idea. That's why we couldn't just transpose into the same position, because they had the opportunity to take the pawn. I don't know. But after rook takes, I should have gone rook c3 immediately. I liked putting this pressure on. I was thinking about rook c3. I thought just rook c3, king d2, but then after this, you can't defend c2. Okay. And actually your best move is rook c4, which clearly sucks. So here, I don't know, you take, I take, you go back or something, and then I can take this. So maybe you go back here, but then I can play d4. Yeah, sure, okay, rook c3 makes sense. But instead, king f5, and then we go in for the, not quite rook c3. I defended this to try and get in on the h-file. I talked about rook c3 a lot and just never played it, which is what this kind of little bumpy stuff is around here. Me just missing rook c3. But then from here on out, pretty much perfect. We keep the king nice and up. We go in with the rook. And then they blunder, of course, and give me this pawn. You know, we put on a lot of pressure. We were attacking a lot of weaknesses, and eventually one of them fell. If king d2, I was genuinely planning on trying to reroute around here, maybe. If you just kind of chill here, I guess. Oh, I don't know, maybe rook d8 and here was an idea. I don't know, I'm the one playing for the advantage, clearly. I've got the better king, I've got the space advantage, my rooks are more active. And eventually, opponent collapsed. We went for the takes, picked this up. Okay, and then in terms of the conversion from there, pretty smooth, honestly. Taking this, taking all the pawns, and then going to threaten the mate. They go king here, and I could have gone for this after here, check. That's an illegal move, which by me not a legal move, but a clear blunder, so if I even saw that, to be completely honest. I like just pushing this pawn. They're clearly not going to stop this. They go rook here, I can just give the check, they move, and then promote, and after takes. I don't know why I'm talking you through this. It was clearly won from this position, and of course, we get the mate in two here, with the queen in the corner. Thank you guys so much for watching. A bit of a different game to the ones that I post on this channel often. Feedback in the comments would be massively appreciated as to whether you enjoyed, hopefully learned something, you know, were equally as entertained as with the normal videos. This was kind of more of a positional squeeze, which I didn't play perfectly, but there were definitely some satisfying ideas in there. You know, quite a stagnant pawn structure. That f6 mistake from my opponent, I think, and you know, really realizing that that was a mistake and trying to exploit it. Where the hell was it? Sorry, I'm just scrolling back. Yeah, here. That's what allowed me to really play for some advantage. And then from here on out, I didn't play perfectly. Oh no, I pretty much, you know, again, not perfectly, but I converted well. So thanks very much for watching. Leave your feedback in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe if you like videos like this. I post a bonus one every single week on the Will Taylor Chess Patreon. Is the best way to support the channel. You get your name at the end of all my videos on the wonderful patron scroll. If you become a loyal patron, then you'll get massive discounts on anything that I sell on the Patreon, which I'm cooking something up right now. But of course, the bonus video every single Sunday is, you know, the main attraction. So if you fancy that, go and check it out. Links in the description. If not, your viewership is immensely appreciated nevertheless. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.